this for this project series, after this I'll be just giving it for testing for some people, just to find any last bugs if there's anything. I did play this a few times and I didn't find anything. Well, I did fix everything that I found, to be precise. So let's start off by opening every single class and going over all the code. Yes, my favorite part. There we go. Since this is the last one, I would like to thank everyone who stuck around for this. It was a shorter one than the previous one, which is great. So I actually tried to code as I go along quite a lot more than previously, and I think this can be seen here. So trigger for winning the game and displaying the game won instead of everything over here. Yep, so let's go over this class. So this is our UI manager. This class exists on every single scene, on every single level. It has its own original instance that doesn't carry over, unlike the game manager. It basically has 5 pieces of text that get changed throughout the game based on different conditions. It works closely with the game manager script. Now, main menu, it's a very simple main menu. There isn't much to it. Basically, triggers first game scene on any button press. Simple as that. We press any button, it loads us straight away to our game scene. It's tagged as scene 2 because first zero scene is the first one that loads, which is the main menu, and the scene 1 is the game over scene, whereas all the other ones go after that. And the reason why I put scenes in this way is because I have a lot of levels, but there's only so many core scenes, and the levels always go after. So I prefer to have my core scenes at the start, and then everything else at the end. Now, actually, if we go about, now that I talk about this, there's actually something that I never used to do before, and that's using the collision matrix. I actually didn't know you could do this in Unity, so it's a great thing. There's actually a project I work on, and it's a multiplayer project where you have many players, and I don't want them to collide against one another. And this was actually something that I was putting up on us to a side. I always knew it was going to be a problem eventually, but I was like, I'll tackle it when I get to it. And throughout doing this, I actually learned that it's as simple as ticking off a box in here. So that was really great. Now moving on to Game Manager. So Game Manager is the game object that carries on through every single level that we have within the game, and for some reason it's not commented at all. So reference to the level manager. So handles game data, which is correct. This is exactly what Game Manager does, and triggers between game states. So reference to the UI manager instance, so other classes can access it easier. Oh, we no longer need to make this a serializable field, which is great. So what's this here? This is the amount of points that the player has, health, the total health of a player, maximum health a player can have. Now, don't need to have this serializable anymore. Don't need this. Actually, don't need anything to be serializable. So the current power up level of the player and the timer score, the bonus level accumulated by visiting many levels, and then checks whenever or not the game has been lost used for loading game over scene. Now, whoopsie daisy. Let's just put a region down here and call it accessors #end region. Now, that's all good. Sets up a instance that is not destroyed when a new level is loaded. Let's actually separate these guys into a header. So this is going to be our player instance as player data. Player data classes, good enough. Initialize stats. This only gets called once, meaning don't destroy on load, skips it the next times. There we go, like so. This is for losing, so subtracts the health from the player total pool and resets the game state accordingly. So what happens here is this takes away from health, and if we don't have enough health, we lose it, or of course reset the size of the player, etc. Triggers the game over state at the end of the game when a player wins. Update. So checks for player input and counts time. Now, time could be changed to a enumerator or another function, but I just kept it as this. I don't see the point, to be honest, for such a small game. Adds power up on pickup, increasing player size. There we go. Now, next one, end game scores. That one's actually nice commented. So this is purely for visualization. There is no need for it. We can actually just region this off. Region. So this is the this is actually well commented. What does this do? Ah. Now that I think about it, this is not asking for user input. So if we're gonna actually remove this entirely, or not. So if input dot get any key down. So what I'm just gonna do is just do this real quick. Any key. Wait, what is it? I don't remember anymore. Let's check out my menu and see how that was done. Any key down. Yeah, I just want to do this. Oh, that makes sense. There you go. So that's all right. Now, movement camera. So this is the behavior that we use for moving the camera. It's very simple. Position. So this is what do we have here? That's actually well done. These two shouldn't be here. Oh, not opened yet. Have we opened UI Manager? Yes, we did. What about Level Manager? I don't think I had a look at Level Manager. Oh, actually looks well looked after. Okay, moving on. We have our enemies. Well, actually, there should be way more scripts in here. I guess I just didn't put them in the right place. I'll do that later. It's an unnecessary space. Triggers invincibility, so the shell doesn't get automatically destroyed with a single stomp. There you go. That's okay. Man-eating controller. Don't need these guys. Controls the man-eating plant. The reference class. Start time. Player won't know when the plant will first appear up. Sets random start of the plant and triggers the coroutine of the plant. Well, no, it's not coroutine, it's invoke. If I'm right, this, no, it doesn't. There we go. So that's a very easy one. What do we have here? Enemy collision. Handles enemy collision. Slightly looks. It's whatever. And there we go. So here we have all of our enemy collision. This is a very straightforward tool. It handles what happens when we collide with player and what happens if we get squashed by the player, which basically makes them a little bit smaller. What do we have here? Where handles teleporting to new areas. That's completing levels. Loads a new scene. That's alright. No need for this here. That's alright as well. Alright, this is our little coin. Coin actually does a lot. This class should have not been called coin. It does way too much. It does more than a coin. It handles a lot of. So it handles power-ups, the flag collision, etc. So handles wrong. Handles collision between objects that give points to the player, such as power-ups, coin, or the end flag. There we go. Nicely done. Moving on to the player. So let's open. Oh, what's all of that for? Handles player stomping the enemy. Behavior. What do we have here? So this is the transform from which we cast a ray cast to determine enemy underneath. Determines input for up and down, used for traveling via the pipes. That's good enough. Oh, that's a heavy one. So let's add a header here, and let's add a header here. So what we have here. So this is our preset collision values. assign. So basically what these do is they set, we have two different collision boxes that we use for this. We resize basically one collision. So the two values that we set is the scale and the offset. Those are the values for the scale, those are for the offset, and we do the same for the bigger one, so the player does properly enlarge and delarge. So this resets the player to its small size. There we go, like so. What do we have here? This looks like player sounds. So this handles all of the sounds. It's very small, but it works great. This can be actually just moved here. There is no need for this to be like this. Yeah, it's actually extremely easy to call the sounds as well, thanks to this. This is mainly used for visualization of the sound, which is great. I think it's a great little script. So the size of small array when player is at the size small. What? The size of the array when player is in his large form. I like how start is above everything else, which it shouldn't be. So let's move it out of the... Actually, it doesn't matter. It's a one-liner. I actually don't mind. It doesn't bother me. Someone else would probably get bothered if they read this, though. So handles the depth animation of the player. So what we have here is how high the player jumps when he dies. The start position of the jump. Where the player will land after the jump. How long it takes for the jump to happen. And then finally, the start time when the jump occurs. Now we do this, we have a invoke function at the start, which just disables the object afterwards here. Very simple. And this is our entire animation. So what we do is we first preset the values when we want to run this. And this runs the def animation, which is a parabola movement formula. Yeah, so all we do is just draw a parabola for our def animation, and that's it. Now, with this done, let's move on to the next one. Boom, boom, boom. What do we have here? Yep, handles player movement. Locks or unlocks player movement. Resets the values of the player movement to default, like so. Update, yep, that's good. Enemy controller, that's good. No, I'm not going to bother. This is not a script I made. It's the default gravity value. So those are just the things I did add. And what we have here, used for delaying jumps. No, used for allowing early jumps. That doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, whatever. That's looking good as well. And finally, utilities. So those will be all the little scripties that were made throughout this project. I'll just go over a few of these because I did them. I did all of these off screen. So first, the trapdoor activator. This is this is what happens at the end of the game. So it disables the door when player collides with the trapdoor trigger. So this is when the enemy dies. Basically, we jump over or under the enemy, we trigger that little, what's it called, this little piece of wood, and that's what makes the enemy fall. Well, he falls with the physics, but because there's nothing underneath. The side platform is, well, I'm not going to show what this is. Actually, this is something you'll have to try if you're interested, but basically this handles the controls of the side movement. And what we do here is we have this little coroutine here, which is very simple. We use this quite a lot actually throughout the project. This is for our rotation. I believe this is for coins rotating. Now, this is the pulling script. It's a magical script. So what this does is a game object creates, well, handles build object and creates more if necessary. No, so retrieves would be the better word. What we have here, platform sticker. So this is a funny one. When you jump on top of a platform with rigid body, you're just going to slide off if the platform moves. But if you attach it as a child, then it's not going to be as its parent. Then the object will stay to it. A bit like how the shooting fireballs were moving up and down because the boss was jumping. It's the same logic. So what I did was on trigger enter, I set the player as the parent, I mean as a child to this platform, and then when we jump, we leave its collision. That's when we're no longer part of the parent. So sets a player as a child object so he doesn't slide off the platform. Removes the player as a child of the platform so his movement is no longer restricted or bound to the parent. And this is very simple. It is just moving the speed at which the object moves the object in straight position using its forward vector. Now, what's the platform controller? So it controls platforms that move up and down. So this is something that hasn't been shown yet. This is basically the platform controller. So how often each platform spawns between each other. 2's. There we go. Very simple script actually. It just keeps putting platforms up and up, and the way they get disabled is by collision with something above them. We have here. So the Parabola Function class. I didn't write this. This is straight from the internet. It's just a Parabola function. If you ever want mathematical formulas, I would say Google, look them up. It's great. It's really great to do that. In fact, I would highly recommend having a bunch of classes with these kind of functions set as public, static, whatever, so you can then just call upon them when you need them within your project. They really come as handy. I would recommend having a folder somewhere with scripts like these that you can just straight away drag into your project if you ever need it. It will save you a lot of time. Things like these really come in handy. So this very simple disables the cursor. Why? Because there's no need for a mouse cursor in a game. I think it's more immersive without it. The activator script is something to basically, if you see, like if we go back to the first level, right? This enemy is always at the top when we get to him, and this enemy is always there when we first see him, right? And that is because I just disabled their scripts until the camera sees them using this script here. So this script here will only enable their enemy controller script when they're in sight. And that is because otherwise, if we took our time, that enemy would not be there when we first see him. He would be somewhere else, right? So even though what's it called? The camera has, well, Unity has the built-in oculation cooling. Um, which basically doesn't render the objects behind the wall that the camera can't see. The scripts are still running in the background. They never stop running. So for this purpose, I want to disable it. And in actuality, there's probably a lot of instances where you would want to do that anyway. So having a script like this, which just disables scripts from running if they don't have to run, is just a great little utility piece to have. Okay, with this, we've covered over all the scripts. I'll be now passing this project over for some people to test. If there's any bugs, I'll fix them. I'll tidy this code up a little bit more off the camera. And then the next stream that we'll be coming back with, which is going to be just a showcase and then I'll be uploading the project online. To find the links, I will actually have the links available on this final stream as well as the YouTube channel. And I do want to slightly change this Twitch page so stuff is more accessible, but till then, but yeah, that's my goal for basically today and I believe tomorrow as your first day, and this is my week off, so I want to get this sorted. But yeah, thanks for watching. I actually thank you everyone who was following me through this. I hope someone will find this useful. I definitely learned from this.